Hello everyone. Today we're gonna start Java basics. Okay, so I'm gonna teach you the Java basics. Only this class will be having only enough Java that will be sufficient for DSA. It's not actually a Java class. It's only like the basic foundation that would be needed for doing DSA. Okay, so let's get right. Okay, I actually wanted to teach you through like the whiteboard, but I don't think so I would be able to teach it properly. So I'll be using referral for reference this Web3 school. Okay, so first thing you need to know what are data types. Okay, data types. Okay, so as the word say, data types. It just tells what kind of data you are storing. Okay, so in Java we have something fewer data types like char. Okay, okay, and byte, int, long, boolean, float, double. Okay, so yeah, I know this is kind of confusing. Okay, so I'm gonna tell what are these data types. Okay, and I'm gonna explain each one of them. So data types are the thing which tell what kind of data these will be storing. Okay, so if you want to store something like a number, you'll be using int. Int actually tells the compiler that it is the data which is gonna come is of number. So if you write int 30, okay, we can say that it's an integer okay. In char we can store a variable, okay, like a, it could be a, it could be capital A. So this is a char. Byte stores some from minus 128 to 128, okay. And when we want to store like everything of this data, like when we store some data, we everything uses some space, okay. Like the char uses the space a char uses 2 byte. Okay, this is the amount of space a char need to store data. For a byte, it's need 1 byte of data to store a data. For integer, it's around 4 bytes. Okay. What if the data is bigger than the 4 bytes? Then we'll use long. So a long can store 8 byte of data, and the data which is stored in the long is similar to int. It can store integer numbers, but these are of bigger size. Okay, these can store or around 10 to the power of minus 18 to 10 to the power of 18. Okay, and for boolean, which is a boolean, okay, it just stored one thing. It just stored true or false, which is 1 or 0. Okay, which will be like true or slash false. Okay, and for float, suppose if we have a number which is not integer, which is a decimal number like 2.8 or 2.6, 3.5, then we use float. A float can store a decimal number. Similar to float, just like int, we have long to store bigger value, we have double to store bigger value. Okay, so we can see here, you can use Web3 or W3 schools for reference. You can learn from here. So we can see like there we have used an example int. We wanted to store a number 5. Okay, so what we said, we are gonna told the compiler that we are gonna use int and we are gonna store my number. This is the name of the variable. Okay, this is a variable. Think of variable as a box where you can store a data. Okay, so whenever you want to tell the compiler, yes, I want to store a data of integer. Okay, this is used to tell what kind of data you want to store. This is used to store the data. So my num has the value of 5 stored in it, which is told to the compiler that it is an integer by the word int. Similarly, if you want to say float, then we use the word float, and whatever name we want, we can put my float number, my float name, whatever, and you can store it as 5.99. You can see this F. It's not mandatory. You can put it as F or you don't have to put. Now, if you want to store char, we can use char, my letter, and the letter. You can see my char only store one alphabet. For Boolean, it just stored true or false. And string, okay, forgot about string. But string is kind of like if you want to instead of storing one alphabet, if you want to store a bunch of alphabet together, we use the word string. You can say there are the data types are actually divided into two types. Okay, we have something like primitive data types. So first we are going to talk about primitive data types. So primitive data types are byte, as I have already told. A byte is something which can store from -128 to 128. Okay, a short is something which is smaller than int, and long is something which is bigger than int. These three are similarly they store normal integer value, but the sizes of each of them is smaller. Similarly, double, float is smaller than double, and boolean is used to store true or false, and char is used to store a character, which is one alphabet. These are called primitive data types because they have come pre-installed. Okay, these are something. Okay, when there is another type of data type which is called non-primitive data type, such as string. A string, as I told, if you want to store more than one character, we use the word string. I'm going to teach over the time how to use them, but for now, just for a reference, I'm going to teach all the things, basic overview I'm going to give you about them. And there is something called arrays. Okay, we're going to talk about this arrays and classes later. Okay. So if you can see the primitive data types, like as I told, the byte, the size of the byte is 1 byte. It can store whole number from -128 to 127. Short, which is has a size of 2 byte. Think of this as the size of it. The smaller the number, the smaller its value. The short is smaller than int, which is of 4 byte, int, which is smaller than long, which is of 8 byte. Similarly, float is of 4 byte, double is of 8 byte, boolean is of 1 bit, and carries of 2 bytes. These are the sizes of them, and okay. And you can try this website. You can come here. You can actually try like my num. So what kind of data this is? This is number. So we can use int, and here we are using float because it's a float. We can see f and 8.99. It's a decimal. Here we can see it's a single letter. We can use char. Here it's a false. So basically we know false come for boolean, and it's a text. Okay. So where we get text? We get text for string. Okay, so this is how you can try out and you can learn from here. This is a overview about data types. Now, coming to one more thing, like there's something important called readability. Okay, so when we use long, okay, when we use long, suppose we want to store variables, or let's see here, let's try to remove this. And for suppose if you want to store a number, and the number value is kind of big, like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So reading this is hard. So what you have to do is you can also write in Java the number as 1 2 3. You can use an underscore. The underscore won't be counted. This is only to increase the readability. So remember, the we have to write a code which is easy for other person to read. Now you can see this has become easy than reading this. So you can use an underscore to make it easy. Few important points. Okay, there are few important points. Okay, These are the few important points that you have to remember. One, you have to write a code which is having high readability. Okay, what does readability means? Just like as I have told, reading this is difficult than reading this. Okay. Okay, for more example is like as I have told, if I want to store a value of int x, okay, so I can write int x and I can store the value of integer. This is right. But what I can make to make it readability, I mean, like to increase its readability, I can write it like this: int x is equal to 3. Now, which of this is better? This is better, right? If you have bunch of codes like this, if I see like copy this and paste it, see, it becomes easy to read than this. It will be cluttered. So we can how to increase a code readability. The second point you have to remember is the naming of variable. Now, what's a variable? So variable, as I have told, this is a variable. A variable is a box. Think of it as a box where you store the data. What's the data? This is the data, right? So we wanted to store 3, that's why we have created an x variable and we have initialized it with int. So we need to name, so we have to care about naming of the variable. Why naming of the variable is important? Suppose if someone has to read your code, okay, if you give a nice name to the variable, like if you give a name of like, if you want to store data related to cash, okay, you want to store related to money like $10, $15, $20, but you give the name as vegetable. So does that make sense? No, right? If you can give it as money and or anything cash or something which is related to this, that makes it easy for person to read. Now, one more thing is naming of functions. Same, you don't have to understand function, but it's something you are gonna learn over the time. So it's a important. The main topic is you have to give it also a good name. A function is something. I'll explain it over time to make it easy. And one more thing you have to use is which is code redundancy. Now, what is code redundancy? So basically, we all want to write a code, but we want to write a code where we don't have to use, like if you are solving a problem and we want to write a solution where we don't have to write the same logic again. We have to use the already existing code. So it's just not using the repetition. We have to avoid repetition of codes. We have to use already existing code to make it easy and small. Okay, there are primitive data types. Is something else called reference data type. Okay, so coming to non-primitive data types, as I told, just like primitive data types, there's something called non-primitive data types, and these are also known as reference types. Okay, so what are these reference types? The main difference between primitive and non-primitive is like in suppose okay. So before this, I have to actually teach you classes and objects, but like in C, if you have an idea on C or C++, in C we used to have struct, in C++ we used to have class. Just like that, in Java we have a class. A class is nothing like it's not a physical entity. It's just like a blueprint for an object. For now, just consider reference as an object. Just consider, though it's not same. Okay. To give another overview, the see non-primitive data types are called reference type because they are refers to object. Just like I said, they refer. For now, just remember that way. Over the time, when you code, you will get a more clarity over this. Okay. So one more important topic, which is this. When difference, this is an important topic. Okay. It's a difference between primitive data type and non-pyramidal data type. Okay, so basically, when you store a data in primitive data type, suppose if you're gonna store 3, okay, when and you said y is equal to 3, okay, you said int y is equal to 3. Now, suppose so we after we can do in Java, if you want to print anything, you have to type system dot out dot println. Okay, this is how you're gonna print in Java. In C we used to use printf, or in C plus we used to use cout, but in Java we have to type it this way. Okay, so you can just print it this way and okay. So, but the thing what I want to say is the difference is, if you suppose if you change the value, like if you change the value of x is equal to 4, then the actual output will of x comma y will be 4 comma 3. Okay. If you print it again, here the value will be 3 comma 3 above. But here we change the value of x, it changed to 4 comma 3, right? But in reference data type, what happened is when you try to add a value for reference data type, the thing is suppose like if you think point p1, this is how you actually initialize reference data type, and we said the value of point p1 will, we assume that p1 has a value of 2 comma 3, and we said p2 will be having the value of p1. So basically what will be the output when we print p1 plus p2, p1 dot x is, if we give p1 dot x is equal to 3, it- okay, and if we say p2 of y is equal to 4, and if you try to print, then the value of I mean the X second. Okay, okay, so if you see here, after adding the value of p1, we said the p2 value will be having the value of p1, but if you try to print here, if you print here, like if you print, the value of p2 will be same as p1, but here next we try to change the value of p1. Okay, so what do you think will be the output? So basically here when what happened was when we tried to change the value of x, the value of y x actually changed, but the value of y didn't change. But here in reference data type, what happens is if we try to change the value of p1 here, as we said, p2 stores the value of p1. So the value of p1 will be 3 comma 4, but p2 will be 2 comma 3, right? Because here see we try to change the value of x, the x value changed but the y value didn't change. So basically if we try to change the value of p2, p2 will change, p2 sorry p1, if we try to change the value of p1 here, then p1 should change and p2 shall remain same. But actually it's not the case. When we try to do change the value in a reference data type, what happened is instead of changing uh, okay, so reference data type actually works like this. Okay, suppose if we try to okay, so this think of this as a reference data type. Okay, now what happened is if we point it out here, this has this is the value of p1. So p1 value is 2 3. Now what happened is when we say that p2 value is also 2 3, this is also pointed to here. Okay, this is also pointed here, and P2 and P1 now share the same memory allocation. Now, P2 is also pointed to here and P1 also pointed here. When I said I'm gonna change the value of P1 to 2 comma 3 to 3 comma 4, what happened is the P1 value also changes and P2 value also changes. This is how reference data type works. But when we try to talk about normal primitive data type, then P1 will be having one value and P2 will be having one value. They will be having different memory allocation. So if we change the value of P1, which is, if I write here P1, and if I write here P2, okay, if I write here P2, then if we try to change the value of P1, the only value of P1 will change. P2 value won't change. But in reference data type, these both are pointing to same memory allocation. So if we try to change the value of this, then this also will change and this also will change. So this thing of storing different places is known as deep copy because they're doing deep copy. We are not able to change the copy, but these kind of are shallow copy. They are making a shallow copy of this. So basically, this copy are being changed. But if you want to store in reference data type, we want to store something data where we have like if even if the value of P1 change, P2 value should not change. We have to give a separate memory allocation to P2. That we can give by something like this. Like just like for P1, if you have given memory, which is point p1 is equal to new 2 comma 3. So what does this new keyword do is it actually creates a memory for this reference data type of p1. So p1 is a reference data type, so it created a memory for p1 here. So it said new set p1 here, take this place, you can store your data here. Okay, and this is gonna be your home. But P2 doesn't have a home because no one has given him. For him, if you want to give a memory, so we can give P2 and we have to call new set P2. Okay, now you can also have a home and this is gonna be your value and no any changes at P2 will only change P2 and any changes at P1 will not change P2 because now P2 also has its own memory allocation. Okay, this is one of the biggest difference between primitive data type and reference data type. Okay, so one more thing is if you are familiar with programming language, like then you must be familiar with STLs. Okay, STL are something like there are some important data structure like stack, queues, linked list. So basically, every time we have to implement those. Okay, to like let me show you if I can. I think it's gonna take time. Okay. Okay, there are few data structures like linked list, tags, queues. We'll be getting into clarity of them later. But if for those who already know about them, so in C++ to use them directly instead of implementing, those are like writing multiple lines of code. They have been already been inbuilt into C++ library called STL. Same in Java, we have something called Java collection. This is very important topic. This we will be using. Okay. Okay, so Java class is similar to STL. Remember this Java class in future we'll be learning it clearly. Java class will allow us to use stack, queue, set, okay, priority queue, uh, priority queue without actually writing the code for them. We can directly use stack, queue, set, priority queue directly. To create inst in like if you're in an interview or if somewhere you have to write a code, you don't have to like implement this thing. You don't have to show how you need to know how does this stack work, how queue work, but you don't have to write code program for that every time you have to use them. You can just directly use them from a collection. Think of this collection as a special box where you can use these tools, special tools directly to solve a problem. Okay, you will be learning this. If you have an idea about them, very good. If you are, we'll be learning over time. Okay. Next, for example, suppose if you want to use the stack, we can just use like stack, and we can just give the integer and stack. It says we're using integer data for stack. Okay, and it's a new stack. Okay, new stack like this and this. Okay. And then we can just use the stack directly, stack dot add. We can add one. This will add one to the stack. And if you want to add two, we can do stack dot add two. If you don't know what's a stack, okay, let me just give an example. Think of stack as like this. Okay, okay, sorry. This is a box. Okay, think of stack like this. Any data that comes will be stored like this. If you suppose think of this as a box. Okay, a dustbin. Okay, you threw one dust something inside, it'll go, it'll fall, s- it's here. You threw again something inside, it'll go, it'll fall above it, and it's the second place. Okay. So when you do, the data is added one above another. Okay. So what you did, stack dot add, one got added. When you did stack dot add two, two got added. Okay. If you want to see like what's on the top, like suppose we don't know, we didn't like someone else came and he wanted to know what's on the top, then you can use something like stack dot peek. It's like basically peeking. You're peeking into the stack what's on the top, and if you want to remove what is ever on the top, you can use stack dot pop. Okay, this is to give an overview over the time you'll be using them. So, and if you wanna just clear out the stack, I think you wanna clear out the dustbin, then you can use stack is empty. This basically will clear out the dustbin. Okay. So you can directly use the power of this stack directly instead of implementing it, instead of writing code for it to say like go down, take the one and remove this, or whatever is on the top, remove it. You can just directly use the power of stack directly from because of the Java collection. Not only on integers, you can use on other also, you can use on point also. And this is we know this is a primitive data type. Okay, and we can also use the reference data type or the non-primitive data types also on this. So basically, when we there is okay, but one thing you need to know is stack doesn't take primitive data type. Here we have written is here I, but this is wrong. Stack doesn't take it. Stack only take reference data, wrapper class. Okay, so what is wrapper class? Wrapper class are basically if you wanna, they only expect reference, not primitive. Now reference is similar to wrapper class. That's why for we have to use Java collection tools, we have to give wrapper class. We can't give primitive data type. Okay. So if you want to give, suppose if you want to give integer instead of int, it will be integer. Okay. For double, it will become caps lock double. The first letter will change into basically a caps lock. Okay. uppercase. Okay, you can see the first letter has been changed. Same goes for float, double, or short, anything. Okay, this is known as wrapper class. Okay, you have to use these in here instead of these. These are not valid, only these will be valid. Okay, one more thing you guys need to know, it's important note. Okay, so if anybody have like for this is for people who know C, C++. So basically what happened was when we try to use while, okay, it's a condition. So while Boolean, okay, if it Boolean as you said, Boolean is true or false. So we used to use Boolean and we used to write if this is while this and we have to just give our whatever commands we want to run. Okay, but what happened was, if it is true, then this will be executed. We used to write while true and used to execute or while one, and it used to execute whatever the inside whatever you wanted to execute. This only used to work in C, C++, but in Java this won't work. You can't just write while true and run the command. You have to actually give a condition here. Okay. This is something you will be getting over the time clarity. Okay, this is for people who actually have an idea. If you don't understand, it's fine. This part, it's not. You'll be learning over time. Okay. Okay. So after coming to this, let's talk about arrays. This is one of the important topic also, arrays. So array, what's an array? An array is used to store multiple values in a single variable. Okay, so as you know, we said a variable is a place where you store the data. But what if we want to store multiple data? Think of this as a house, okay? I used to say, I said variable can store one value. Okay, I said a house can have one person, but it's not mandatory a house will have one person. A house can have 5%, a house can have 10%. How will you store it? So array is one of the way where you can use we can store multiple values in a variable or in a way where we can have multiple people living at one place. Okay, instead of declaring separate variable for each one, instead of building separate houses for each person, what we did was instead in one house we pushed all the 10 persons. Okay, to declare array, we have to use square bracket. Now this square bracket is what is array? It tells that this thing is an array. Okay, think, see, we have created an array of, okay, think, read this, look at this. We have created an array of string. What is string? A string is something which store a value in not just one character, but a bunch of characters combined together. Okay, so here we gave the name of the string as cars. Okay, this is the name of the string. This is data type. This is variable name and this tells it is an array. So it is ready. Car is a think of car as a house which is ready to store multiple values or multiple people. Okay, so a string of cars. We have many types of cars, right? Volvo, BMW, Ford, Mazda. So these all values are stored now in cars. Instead of storing one car is equal to Toyota, we are now able to store multiple bunch of cars into one value, one variable. So this is the importance of array. Here, if you want to store integer types of array, we can use int and the brackets, my name, my num, which tells the name, and these are the values. All the values are stored between parentheses. Okay, we separated these. Remember, in string you have to write all. Whenever you are writing a string, write it in the under inverted columns or double quote. Okay. Say for here, you don't have to write in inverted columns. Now, how do we access? Okay, we created an array. Okay, this is, we said my num, you can store this value, but how do we access this value? So to access this value, you can just go like this, system.out. To I said to print something in Java, you have to use system.out.println. Okay. Now, this is an array. Think of array as a bus. Okay, or a train. This is coach 0. The array start from coach 0. Okay, this is 0 and it 0 has the value of think of this as a train. Okay, the 0 compartment has is having Volvo, the first compartment is having BMW, the second compartment is having Ford, the third compartment is having Mazda. Now if you wanted to store the value of if I wanted to know what's in compartment 1, I'll do system.out.println Now, of which compartment? I need to tell, na? Like I want to know the compartment of cars train. So think of the name of the train is cars. Okay. So I said system.out.println cars, and it's a array, right? So we have to tell in array which I want to know the value of zero. So it gave the value of zero, which is Volvo. So this is how you access an element in an array. Okay, see, array index start with 0. 0 is the first element. As I told, 0 is the first element, which is here Volvo. First is the second element. Now, can we change the value of array? Yes, we can change the value of array. We can go with car 0. I want, instead of Volvo, I want to put here Opel. So what I did, I said in this compartment of this train, I want to put this. I put this. This is how you can change an array. Like, see, Volvo BMW, I said car of 0, Opel, system.out.println when I try to print it. Now output Opel instead of Volvo will be shown. One more thing you need to know, array is not a primitive data type, okay? It's an reference data type, okay? And there are few properties of array. Okay, so not just you can just shift the values, you can also know the length of the array. Array dot length. Okay, suppose if you want to know the length of the array, like there are multiple bunch of elements and you want to know what is the length of the array, you can use array length. Now, how does this work? You have to just say cars, which is the name of the s- array dot length. You have to just put a dot and you have to type length. Now, this will return number of elements in an array. Here one, 2, 3, 4. So it the output is 4. Okay, this is one property of array. And one more property, see here, see, create an array of type string and cars. So how can we create an array? So we have to tell first the data type, which is string here, and here we have to give it a name. We can give it a, here they asked us to put string and then name it is cars. Okay. There's one more property which is like arrays, like just like array length. There's a property called arrays dot sort. It's a class and kind of like a utility. So I'll be teaching that later. For now, just no. There are other properties also. And there's one more important topic that you guys need to know. See, when we try to initialize an array, suppose we want to initialize an array of suppose ARR of I, okay? Suppose, okay. So what I is in lang other language like C, C++, if I used to give I, suppose if I used to give I value as int, it used to take int. If I used to give I value as long, it used to take long. But in Java, it doesn't. If we give I value as long, I as long, it will not take. It will not take because the limit of array is only 10 to the power of 6. Okay, and we know the value of integer is 10 to the power of 9. So when integer is already 10 to the power of 9, why would array need the value of long? So Java people thought it is unnecessary for it to support long, so it doesn't support long. So what happens if you have a value of long? So to use the value of long in such array, you have to use something called typecast. Now, typecast is something, this is another thing you need to learn. Typecast is something which uh, changes one data type to another. So if I want to change, suppose int, suppose think of this as int and L. So it's gonna change the L long data type to int data type. Okay. So basically, this is typecast. I'll teach typecast more later. And one more thing, for now, till now, you have seen only 1D array, just like we have seen here. This is a 1D array. Okay, you have also got 2D arrays where instead of taking one column, it will be taking two columns. Okay, so that's called 2D array. Something like a matrix, like you learned matrix, right? Like this, something like this. This is matrix. So these kind of array also exist instead of one square bracket, they'll be having two square brackets. The what else? So typecasting, as I have told, okay, I'll give you an overview. Typecasting is something like you use in a wrapper class. Okay, suppose string s is equal to 1, 2, 3, and if I want to convert, think of this like this string s is equal to 1, 2, 3. Now this is a string. Okay, we know this is an alphabet, but if you want to use it in a number, like I want to say 1, 2, 3 plus 1, 2, 3. Now, this won't give me an output basically because one is a number and one is an alphabet, I mean, like string. So, these both can't be added. So, I need to convert this into an integer. So, I can do integer dot parse int. So, basically, what it'll do, it'll change the string value to integer value, and then it'll add the 123, and the string value will be converted to 123, and it'll give an output. So there are here you need to understand there are two concepts called unboxing and boxing. This is the question we got today in exam also. It's actually basically, so basically what happened is there are primitive data types, as I told you. If you want to convert primitive data type to reference or wrapper, okay, it is boxing, and vice versa, which is reference to PDP. Okay, this is unboxing. Okay, now as I told, typecasting lets you convert one data type to another. So if you try to convert primitive data types to reference data type, it's called boxing. And if you try to convert reference data type to primitive data type, it is called integer. Okay. Now there are sometimes like if we try to convert, okay, why this is important? Like you can easily convert int to long. Basically, because long stores same value as int, but it has more space, so it's not an issue. But if you try to store long value to int, the compiler will say there will be a chance of data loss, and it's not allowed. Okay, so basically because long has a higher space than int, so there will be a loss of data issue. But we need to tell it that we are okay with loss of data, but we want to convert the long to int. That is called explicit casting. It's a type casting. It's called explicit casting because we are actually telling the compiler we are okay with the loss of data, but we want it to change. Similarly, if you want to convert short to int, it's possible because short is smaller than int. But if you want to convert int to short, it's not possible because there will be a loss of data. So we need to do explicit casting. Okay, and one more concept which I think I'll give an overview. So basically, this today's class is over about overview. We'll be doing much more, and you have to actually put it work from your side. Also, you need to learn. Okay, and there's one more topic you need to know is I'm gonna teach a string. Okay, as I told, string is a play to contain a collection of characters instead of just one character. So we have given string. We want to store string. Okay, the variable name hello. As I told, it should be inverted columns between inverted columns. Okay, so now need to understand this is also a reference set of reference data type, but in array we actually called it try to find length that, and in string also we can find length. Okay, suppose we have these many letters and we want to find the length, we can do by using plus text. Txt is the variable name, txt dot length. But in if you see compare it with array, right? So array we actually did, if you go down, we said cards dot length. If you see, we stopped till length. We didn't write anything after that. It is a property of an array. But for string, if we want to find the length, we have to give a bracket because it's not a property, it's a function. A string in Java is actually an object, okay? A string in Java is actually an object which contain method that can perform certain operation on string. For example, the length of the string can be found by length method. Okay, and There are more string methods like string. We can convert this to uppercase. We can just say variable dot to uppercase. Remember, we have to put a function symbol at the end, these colons, if these colons at the end, because string is a function, it's not like array. Okay, so then in the data output will be hello world, and we can also convert it to lowercase, then it will be smaller case. There's also we can find a letter in a string by using index of. Okay, so like if we say tags dot index of, we are just using whatever you want variable. We are saying dot and whatever the function we want to perform on it, index of, and what we want to find is the word locate. So what it's going to do is index of is going to find at what position in the statement is located. Okay, so we can see here 1 2 3. Okay, we are finding it from 0. Okay, 0 1 2 3 4 5. The space is also counted 6 and 7. At location 7 the word locate starts. That's how you got an output 7. Okay, so these are some of the basic. You can also break this by using another called substring, like we can do it like s dot substring. Okay, uh, so basically what will this do is it's gonna start cutting the array. Think of this like, okay, like s is equal to Chayant, and if I want to print from, instead of this word in this string, I want to print only this. So what I can say is start from the letter third. Okay, not the index. Okay, start from the letter third and give the this is the starting position, and here you need to give n plus 1, which is means after ending whatever the look number is there, you have to give here n plus 1. So in this case it will be 3 comma 7. Okay, 3 is y, 4 5 6 6 is t, 7 is n plus 1. This is how you can break a string. And one more thing is there is nothing if you want to compare two strings like s1 to s2, this is wrong. You can't compare it because I told string is a reference data type. So basically, if it's a reference data type, you can't compare because both of them are having different references. For them, if you want to compare the value of string s1, you have to use equals s2 for reference. But if it is a primitive data type which is having different memory allocation, you can just use normally like for int, char, boolean, long, you can just use equal to symbol. But for reference data type, you have to use dot equals to. For here, for string, as we use dot equals to. Okay, that's it for today. Basic and overview I have given of all. You have to actually read documents also if you're having issues, and basically I have given everything. The Java actually class starts from Java start from here. This is the starting point of Java. Public static void main, and you can just refer them. There are a bunch of exercises also which you can do and learn from here. Okay, how to install Java FO. Okay, and there are few syntax which are important for Java which you need to know. Okay, learn this. Have a few basics ready. Once you're done with this, we can start doing basic questions. I'll be giving assignment tomorrow. I'll be telling which questions you have to do. You have to just go to the website which you're following lead code, and I'll just give you the question numbers. You have to just go to the website. You can see a search question. I'll give you the number. Suppose if I have given you number the 1532. I don't know if this exists. So you can see 1532 question number comes out here. You have to just press on it and you have to solve it.